City Sounds. Creating podcasts, creating podcasters.
This is the place to start. In this series of podcasts, we hope to give you some tips and inspiration to get help if you hit a few bumps along the way on your time here at City.
Anxiety, I feel like anxiety is a really hidden and quiet problem.
Balancing everything is so hard.
It's just overwhelming sometimes.
It definitely goes up and down depending on how stressful the deadlines are.
This is a production by students for students, and we hope you'll find it interesting. There'll be information about how you can get more help at the end of each episode.
Reach out to the uni for support, because there are things you can get put in place beforehand that may be of help to you.
Welcome to The Place to Start. I am Tom Richardson and I'm joined by Isabel Donaldson, a student from the School of Journalism's MA Broadcast course. Hi Isabel.
Hi Tom, it's good to be here. And in this episode, we're going to hear the story of Merci, an undergraduate studying international politics here at City University.
If you don't mind, can you talk about some of the coping strategies you might have used when it comes to transitioning to university life, when it comes to having a disability?
One of the first things I did was I did a lot of research. I was looking on the website, what information do they have available? I also asked my friends who are already in university, what was university like when you started, just so I could prepare. And I found out about the different resources I could go to and the sensory room. And I even came to university before we started to have a bit of a look around.
Did you have any chats with the student wellbeing team before accepting your spot or making it permanent?
Yes, I spoke with the student health and wellbeing when I'd applied through clearing before I found out I had a place, just because I wanted to find out, how quickly do they respond, and also what support could I possibly get if I chose to accept a spot at City.
And would you recommend that to other students with any type of disability, kind of taking those precautionary measures and really doing your research beforehand?
Yes, definitely, because a uni may have a good reputation, their support might not be perfect for you. So I'd say it's really important. Contact the support team either before or after you apply. Tell them a little bit of information, see what they have to offer, and then you can use that to help you with choosing where you want to go and if the support is right for you.
And can you talk about your experience asking/advocating for help when it comes to what you need and what your needs are at City?
Well, first, before I came to City, it was very much more my mum would do the advocating for me. But I feel ever since I started at City, I've become a lot more independent. I have a disability advisor, and he is generally my first port of call. For example, if I have any difficulties, I reach out to him by email and he literally responds within an hour. And then we tend to set up meetings. And for example, if I've had any problems with certain faculty members in the department and I let him know, then if I feel uncomfortable to reach out to them, he reaches out on my behalf. So it's pretty good.
How's asking for help/advocating for help kind of grown for you? Because, it's different for anyone kind of learning to advocate for yourself, especially in a university setting.
God, it was really scary at first. I remember I used to draft multiple emails and sit there panicking, does this email come across well? Are they going to see the email? Do I have to have an in-person meeting? But I think definitely over time, as I've had more meetings with my disability advisor and I've gotten to know him a lot better, I feel a lot more comfortable reaching out for help. And also I've worked with him to develop skills, for example, me going up and speaking to my lecturers directly and emailing directly if I need any form of support or I feel they're not following through what's on my support plan. So definitely I've become a lot more independent in that sense.
And as far as the resources that City provides, what do you feel has been the most helpful, and what are the resources that you think you take the most advantage of?
I think one of the most helpful resources that City has to offer is when in the library, like the way they have a section with all of the accessible equipment, all of the accessible software. Because yes, I have it on my laptop, but sometimes it can be like such a burden having to carry that all around. But having access to a private space in the library where I can use that software without the awkwardness of feeling judged by people around me, I found that really helpful. And like also another thing I found very helpful is with the exam arrangements. Before, I'd applied to like a different university and had the support in place. However, to get it in place, every single exam you would have to go and speak to the actual faculty. But at City, when it's put in place, when it's put in that report, it's automatically applied to everything. So you don't have the stress of constantly having to run back and forth and asking for things to be implemented that are already written down.
And as far as students with disabilities who are thinking about coming to City, what kind of advice would you give them, or what piece of knowledge would you give them to know beforehand?
Oh, I would probably say a piece of advice to know beforehand is do your research. Look, see, are there any student testimonials, or do you know somebody who has gone here? If not, then you can also reach out on social media. Because before I started, I actually reached out to a student who used to go at City that I know, who also has a physical disability, and they gave me a little bit of advice on like how to approach the university with the support.
How do you feel like you've, evolved, for lack of a better word, or come along in your journey as far as getting assistance and accommodation with your disability during your first year here at City? How has that changed over time, and how do you feel?
I would say it's changed over time for the better. I've learned a lot more about myself at City, and I've also started to learn what support I find helpful and what support I don't really find helpful. And with that, I've been able to speak up about it a lot more. For example, I'm actually in the process of getting diagnosed with a physical condition at the moment. And even though I don't have the official diagnosis as of yet, City has been really helpful in getting certain support arranged. For example, like having access to the lifts in the Centenary building. So that's been really helpful.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would say if you feel like you need support, reach out for it, even if you're in the diagnostic process or you're thinking of reaching out to your GP or whoever about getting a possible diagnosis. Even if you don't have it yet, reach out to the uni for support, because there are things you can get put in place beforehand that may be of help to you.
That was Merci speaking with our interviewer Tim Utzig.
So let's get into it. What I thought was really interesting was Merci saying that no matter what the reputation is of the university, it's really important if you've got a disability to look into the services that are provided. How important is that to know what you need before you even get to university?
In Mercy's case, she came with lots of fantastic ideas and things that she wanted to explore. She was very proactive in how she sort of sought out what she wanted and came in with lots of questions and ideas, and was very meticulous about her choice of university, which is, I'm really pleased that she's had such a positive experience, some great feedback there. But it's, I'd say it's crucial, sort of knowing exactly what it is you require to support your needs.
And on arrival, what should a student ideally do to get started?
Well, to come and have a conversation with us, to register with our service using our e-referral, to provide, where possible, medical evidence, records, anything that they have on file to support their diagnosis. If there's a treatment plan they're on, or there's some special adjustments they might have had at school as well, that's always a good basis for us, good place to start that we can build on. But it sounds like in Mercy's case that things have kind of naturally, organically kind of evolved through her time here, and things have kind of got better.
We hear her say that she's felt like she's become a better advocate for herself since being at City. Is that something that you recognise in the people that you work with? Once they ask for help and get what they need, that they feel more empowered?
Generally speaking, yes. I mean, when people are able to put themselves, in the driving seat. I mean, I think that's largely what university life is like, young adults maturing and becoming more responsible for themselves and independent, really. I think that's what university brings. And in Mercy's case, that's something that's been important for her, for this process for her. She's, I would hope, has grown in confidence.
She mentioned lots of different help that she's had. What are some of the services that are available to people who come with disabilities?
We have the Disability and Neurodiversity Service, so there's a variety of specialist support, working with students with varying disabilities, neurodiverse conditions available. There are advisors who can tailor plans to students. Mercy spoke very highly of her advisor being quite responsive, being able to arrange meetings at quite short notice and help her to advocate for her on the course, have conversations with lecturers, or she mentioned the library as well, the library service, about the support available there, the assistive technology that she found very useful. So the advisor can kind of help to piece all this together, really.
And the support that Mercy's been able to access has come, if I'm right, from having made that initial contact with a disability service. How important is that?
I mean, it's everything, really. I mean, in many instances, it's possibly the difference between having a positive student experience and a not so positive one. Being open about what it is you need, in a kind of confidential way, could be the chance between being very successful, obtaining a qualification or struggling.
Have you seen people come to the service later on at their time at City and have felt a bit frustrated, not at them, but just that there could have been more opportunities to help them if they had been able to get there earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I think early intervention is always preferable, but, we have to appreciate that it's not always so straightforward. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself forward and put your hand up and say, I need support, things aren't going so well, I have to book in a conversation with an advisor, I have to speak up about this.
That can feel quite scary.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that we're all very approachable. We're all very, I like to think, very kind of friendly people that will always give people time and, allow them to have the space to talk through their issues or disability, whatever it may be, and support them as best we can.
Once they've been in touch, how does the service then liaise with the university?
So once they're registered, they remain open to our service for the duration of their course. It really sort of depends on, it's a very sort of collaborative way of working, I think. I wouldn't be contacting a tutor or program director in a sort of knee-jerk way unless the student had consented for me to do that or it felt necessary. It's gradual, isn't it? It's like any kind of relationship.
Sounds like a real discussion between the university, the student in question, and the service that's supporting them. It's interesting that it's so collaborative.
That's right. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and thank you to Mercy for sharing her story, and thank you, Isabel, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, remember that the conversation is the place to start.
If you've been affected by anything you've heard here, please get in touch with the Student Wellbeing team or check out episode 6 in our series for more information. This episode was produced by Tim Utzik.